just a long lost look in your eyes. Brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Oh, don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, to the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, to the light we go.
Welcome back, guys. We're taking a look at some highlights from game number 1. This is really how the game started and almost how it ended here for BBQ.
Yeah, if you only want to see the summary of this game in one play, it will definitely be the gank being turned around onto Trick and Crazy. 2 kills going the way of MVP, and the scaling team kept scaling ahead of time because of these early kills. And the perfect game, the first one of the year, by MVP of all teams. Great stuff from them. Was, of course, slow while the scaling phase was happening. There were some near misses as Gangplank tussled with Tempt, but was able to get away with his life. But all things considered, a perfect game enacted, and you're not going to miss anything right here. Your eyes not deceive you beyond hit and ult.
Just one. There was a second one where he was trying to escape and ended up accidentally. I think it was this one. He got tricked there towards the end, but doesn't really count. So at least he got one under his belt. But at the end of the day, it is a perfect game here for MVP. Not really what we were expecting. I thought BBQ would turn this one around, but this is really the story. Perfect game. 0 kills, 0 towers, 0 Drakes, no Rift Herald, no Baron, no anything. As MVP sweep the floor with them, Gangplank and Corki, they were pretty fed. 424 damage. Let's get on to the next game.
The best piece of news for BBQ was there was one moment between 2.5 minutes and 3.5 minutes. They were in head and gold by about 100. So if that's the best news you have to talk about, well, it's time to go to game number 2 for BBQ. 424 damage for the Taric. You know, there was no room for him to do damage. He was just in a laning phase forever. So I think we're ready for the MVP of game 1. Could be anyone, but it's going to be Beyond.
Wow. They saw that one ult and they're like,
hey,
oh, we got to give it to him.
Hey, his zoning ultimates was something we have to talk about.
True.
So much space created by his Let's Bounce usage.
Yeah, I mean, it says the top gank was good. And yeah, it was good. I mean, it was really just him being in the right place at the right time and getting that counter gank off effectively.
Who would you consider?
MVP ahead.
Who would you give it to instead?
You know, I don't know. So I got my hands up in the air. I'm like, I don't really know. Maybe the GP.
The
He did a lot
MVP
of damage.
fans are very happy to see that Beyond has picked up his second MVP of the season in a couple of lean seasons for him after bursting onto the scene as an Amumu one trick back in summer of 2016. That's an over-exaggeration, but Amumu was certainly the trick that people remember. Speaking of tricks, Trick will retain his spot for game 2.
Bono must not be available at this time. It's understandable. We'll see if he plays the Skarner again, if he gets his hand on that, or maybe he'll just pick something else. I don't know who Xayah is. Oh, it's Crazy saying, okay, Crazy, carry.
You know, they'll take anyone. Will BBQ. The good news is, they're out game 1. Show us something new in game number 2.
Yeah, so let's go to pick and ban and see that's something new.
We're all into game number 2 of BBQ versus MVP, and BBQ say no more of these pirates. The Pirates have been slain. No Gangplank this game, becoming a much more common blue side ban, especially if you don't want to first pick it. And sadly, the Alistar is also an endangered species whenever you play BBQ.
Still the option to have Misfortune, so don't count all the Pirates out just yet. I mean, we saw her last year, but not much this year. I don't think there's been a single Misfortune pick, actually.
So plenty of Scion picks, but MVP will not be able to run that. Probably going to be a Cho'Gath from ADD. Will you triple ban ADD? Was that a thing that would happen?
That's an early call. I mean, I suppose it does make sense. But he's played stuff like
his Vector champion pool is GP and Cho'Gath this season, the only two champions he has wins with. So you might want to visit the Cho. I think Crazy would love to play some Vladimir, so Vladimir versus Cho is a matchup we might see in the game. Waiting for the final ban, a lot left open because of the Scion ban. Yeah, it's going to be a Varus ban, so it's not going to be the triple ban towards ADD. Setting up for a first pick here. Could just be first pick Kalista again for Ghost.
Still waiting on that last ban. There it is. They had the same idea, and they're like, nope.
So Skarner available again, but would Trick run it after such a lean game one? I think MVP will certainly lock it in, so the Skarner, despite being on the losing end multiple times tonight, it's one that's going to be fun to check. We get the lock-in of the Skarner for BBQ. So it's a takeaway of putting Trick back on a champion that had such lean pickings is going to be an interesting mental fortitude test for Trick and the side of BBQ. And what about Xayah Rakan for MVP? Love a zero lane. That's a fun one to see. Pilot and Max, not Mahan Max, the longtime best friends, but Pilot in the lineup. A Pilot 3-0 in recent games. It's a win streak.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, sometimes just subbing in someone new is all you need to add some fire to your lineup.
Action onto BBQ. Do they really want to run back the stuff from game one is the question we have for them. They will go with the Ezreal. So far they're sticking with what didn't work.
And speaking of which, Azir also on the lineup here for Tempt.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not Fiora this game, though.
Yeah, well, there's no GP, so perhaps not.
And MVP say, well, it's against the Azir again. Why not Corki? I think this will be locked in. It's pretty comfortable for Ian here on the Corki. So it's a bit opposite day going on right now. We are surprised to see BBQ say, I mean, maybe BBQ look at it as, okay, the top lane gank lost us the game. Everything else from there wasn't as relevant. Let's tighten up our play and perhaps we can go forwards. I think the Fiora was the kind of the biggest misdraft where it didn't seem like it was ever really going to run away with the game. So perhaps the rest of the comp, I mean, there's no issues with Skarner, Ezreal, and Azir in the first round. They are strong picks, but of course reminiscent of a time that BBQ will definitely want to forget.
No Zac this time. That MVP performance from Beyond was just too much to handle. Did have to take that one away.
To give big initiation to the side of MVP, even if not all of it looked effective, and a Leona ban goes against IgNar. Surprising respect ban there, given that the Leona hasn't been played this season when available. But the playmakers getting thin from the support role. Rakan, Alistar, and Leona all taken away.
Still got Blitzcrank. Don't forget about him.
You know, outside chance with the 3 picks locked in. If you see a squishy lineup, there's worse picks than Blitzcrank. The Thresh, also a big possibility.
Yeah.
Sejuani's made it through the second round, so it's not quite Zac when it comes to engage, but it's right up there. I think you need more engage on the side of BBQ to help trick out something with backline threat, or maybe even a pick champion like the Thresh or the Blitzcrank. The Shen is also another big one for IgNar that he'll consider. But right now, we're looking at initiation. I think the Braum will be a surprise, even though it answers the Sejuani very well. So Ornn likely in the support role, but outside chance it's top lane. It will be top lane. Okay, so looking like it will be top lane. Wait to see if IgNar does lock in the Braum.
Well, they already hovered it once. Generally, you don't see them switch it up too often from here. It's not really much to, mind trick your opponent with that one either. So yes, it is going to be locked in. We will have our Braum for IgNar.
Now action on to MVP, looking for their top laner Cho'Gath available, big favorite of ADD. The Maokai, oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
A tank under a different name. Cho'Gath, not as reliable as the Maokai. The Maokai lets them make TP plays. It's going to be all about getting the Xayah and the Corki to a couple of items, and then the AD carries will run rampant. It's a really strong engage coming through from MVP. Sejuani and Rakan seemed like enough, but Maokai puts it to the nth degree. The Impale targets count to 2, so we'll see if the QSSs will come through from Ian and Pilot. And also, it's a very beefy front line for Ghost to have to DPS through, whatever the build you choose on the Ezreal.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty rough for him. Going to need the fights to break down to really do that effective damage. He can definitely chunk Max if Max gets a little bit too far ahead and Ghost has good positioning. But Max, a quality Rakan player. We'll see what he can do. And Coach went in there, talked to Trick in between the games, and then they said, you know, it wasn't your Skarner play. It was just the situation of the game. So they're going to give him another shot at that Skarner. We'll see how it does this time around.
Skarner from way behind, obviously gonna most of the time look back. Cal's famous performance at Worlds was on the Skarner in 2015 that people will never let him forget. Low damage on both sides, really 2 threat comps on both sides. Skarner's not going to be going Trinity Force, so Azir and Ezreal versus Corki and the Xayah. Do have the Braum, do have plenty of frontline. Do both teams here try to answer that damage, but I feel like the junglers once again will tell the tale. Beyond kind of started and ended the story with his gank topside. Whichever team starts getting snowball, hits their item spikes earlier, will certainly be in a great position to command the game.
Yeah, definitely the question. MVP looking very confident up against BBQ. Let's see if they can close out the potential 4-0 in game score against BBQ, jumping into game 2. BBQ trying to match MVP's vigor. It's not really working out too much.
Not many fan groups can. MVP, like we've said a couple of times, even in game 1, have an epically loyal fan base who have stuck through this team through the thick and thin. Of course, the thick was pretty much their first 2 splits where they finished in the top 6 both times, I believe. And then obviously summer was a down split for MVP. Did avoid the relegation battle after being rooted at the bottom of the table for the great majority of the summer season. Going to be difficult for the observers to find exciting lanes to watch. We do have Maokai versus Ornn in the top side.
Yeah. It's definitely a lot less action than GP versus Fiora.
Xayah Rakan at least can lead to some fun plays, so maybe bot lane will be the place to lock the camera. Azir is expected to win the trades early against the Corki. Looking for potential W level 1 play here, Pilot and Maxon. So Pilot was thinking just walking in behind the enemy team and looking for trades. That would have meant they would have tanked minion aggro, so probably smart of them to back away.
I think they might not have seen them on the ward, and we are going to have a pause here.
Unsure about this one. We'll give you guys the update when we get it. Very early in the game.
The timing of that rotation from the bot lane of BBQ is kind of suspicious, as Trick was starting the blue buff, which is not something you see all too often.
Seems to be in the MVP booth this time around. Had a mic issue in our first series. Hoping it's going to be a momentary one.
Yeah, generally the pauses have been quite forgiving here in Esports TV Arena.
Did not observe that last year. Seemed to be
oh yeah,
a longer-term commitment.
Sound issue here for probably MVP.
Sounds like Pilot's, Pilot's headset acting up. So hopefully we can get through that. We were given some technical information that his headset was unplugged. That's maybe want to plug it in, Pilot.
He waited until the laning phase started to let you guys know, and then he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize."
He's going to be a bit behind on the win conditions from the champ select. If his headset was not working, well, that's a bit comical.
Wow.
MVP technically working towards the perfect series. I don't think that's ever happened, by the way, in the history of League of Legends. Whether it's LCK or worldwide, that would be just the most insanity. Ooh, Haunted Maokai. How
you really
eerie.
don't see that too often.
No.
Especially with Maokai and the Christmas Maokai, Christmas tree. There's too many good Maokai skins for this one to make it through.
I mean, ADD is the biggest hipster we have in the LCK. The guy who played Scion before it was cool. Now jumping on the Maokai. He's not going to go for any mainstream skins. Here's one you can't buy right now because it's not Halloween.
He's kind of just laughing at all the people who can't use it because they can't buy it just yet.
We have access to a lot of the cool skins here on the Korean server, thanks to Riot hooking us up with an account. But I don't always go for the really hipster ones. I have Black Alistair, but I can't give up the cowbell from that skin. Red Card Twisted Fate is my favorite because he's a soccer referee and it's hilarious. It is. It's so funny. I find it funny.
I mean, it's pretty good.
Beyond and Trick on the invade.
Yeah, Beyond goes in there, steals the big Krug.
A lot of lane control showing from MVP. We were correct. The observers were right. The bot lane was supposed to be the place for all the fighting.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's abated. This is not the lane, SpoTV. No, come on, turn around. We don't want to watch this one. I'm going to give you...
They zoomed in. They're like, oh, this is good.
I'm going to give you the Atlas challenge of trying to find a hype moment between Ornn and
There's
Maokai.
probably going to be one.
No,
I mean,
the requirement is that no one else is on the screen.
yeah, you know, Ornn, when he hits level 6, is probably going to ult.
He's getting ADD low.
It's a very flashy ult, even if you know nothing's going to happen. It's kind of like where you take the Korean caster version of things, where you try to hype things up, even though you know nothing's really going to happen. Just
the Korean
scream,
caster version.
Ornn!
That's not an esports special, by the way. We've both been watching the Winter Olympics, and the casting style is kind of ever-present there.
Yes, very true.
For
Sometimes
the big
quite
cultural
biased.
events.
Yeah, at times.
I mean, national commentators. That's the way it always goes.
It's true. I don't really blame them, to be honest, in that case. You know, it's better than being fake. Like, oh, I hope this other guy beats my my countryman's skater or something like that. So,
Caster bias, always a thing to talk about. People love that one. Trick, will he get off an aggressive impale this game? Another thing we're waiting to consider.
One thing, if you guys are new to caster bias, is this is kind of a basic thing, but every Korean caster is biased towards SKT.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
Everybody knows it. It's just a worldwide thing. If you're new to learning caster bias, that is. You just
you should write the playbook.
Spam that in the chat, just like, I think this guy is biased for SKT.
You should write the the playbook on caster bias. You clearly know a thing or two.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
So you actually come from StarCraft, and of course, SK Telecom was involved there. Was it the same sort of story? Were the accusations, was SKT still the team we know them to be in League of Legends?
Sometimes, yeah. Where like an SKT player would be just barely winning, and we'd be like, wow, what a great play from this fantastic player. And then people would be like, well, I mean, you're just saying that because he's SKT, but actually it was just a good play.
But even just zooming out, like, was SKT the same level of org, like the most popular among the global fans, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, good question, but we'll have to wait on that one as Max is going to get out of there. The stun actually hitting Pilot in the back. That's double flash
stun.
now. It's getting low. Beyond now wants to do another good counter gank, but in the end, Pilot does survive.
Yeah, 2 summoners away from Pilot means that he is now no longer with any. IgNar drops both of his as well, so it does end up being a trade, all things considered. It was level 5 Skarner, so I didn't think the excitement would be there, but Trick at least was able to blow an aggressive flash, and that's something for pre-6 Skarner. Gets better for him. He can lock and reload. Look for Pilot before the Featherstorm comes in.
Yeah, I actually didn't catch it, but I guess his E went through Max and hit Pilot on the back. And I think Trick identified that and went for the flash. It was a good play, especially after they had gotten Max out of the fight on that one. But
now we're in the top side again.
Yeah.
In the exciting Catalyst versus Catalyst, Crazy versus ADD, Ornn versus Maokai matchup. I wanted to give it all of the details. Fans need to know exactly what they're hyped about.
Even some extra magic resist. Okay, level 6 is hit. ADD, he's ahead. That's all I got. But yeah, SKT was, it depends on what you're talking about, because there was Pro League, which was the team league, right?
That's what I'm more thinking
But StarCraft is a one-on-one game. But if you're talking about Pro League, yeah.
One-on-one?
I know those types of games don't really exist anymore.
I mean, I've only ever played League of Legends and only heard the word StarCross, so I didn't know that.
True, yeah. I thought only 5-on-5 games existed, but not quite the case, Papa Smithy. But yeah, there were times, definitely. And the SKT was definitely one of the teams that was very dominant, but there were years where they were the heavy favorites, but still lost in the very exciting finals. We had some good Pro League finals, for sure. Sad that's gone.
SKT in this league is one that's very fun to track with their recent four-match winning streak. SKT fans that had to cool off a little bit in the first round robin, getting excited again. I'm waiting for that next telecom war. That's going to be a hype one. SKT versus KT in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah. I guess that might be here, actually, Spo. Because the last one was over in the Sangam studio.
Ah, yes, Sangam studio. Crazy. Thing we have to remember is he has percentage health and a shield on the same ability. So that means you basically win trades against tanks every time in the early game when damage matters. Once the Abyssal Masks are both complete, the damage no longer matters.
Whoa. Just checking the blue.
Ah, makes sense. I missed the mini-map there as the farm phase is on. At least Beyond is looking aggressive. Oh, boy.
There's the package. See you later, Trick. Get off of my map. They're going to give the red over to Beyond, actually, as Ian says, no, I don't want it.
Now, that was ballsy. Ian decided to stop there being any sort of passive early game. Dives into the enemy jungle. Nice collapse with Beyond. The perfect game still on here, Valdez.
Yeah. You know, that's a play you don't really see too often from Corki's, but the timing was perfect right when the red buff spawned. You see that a lot right after Talia hits level 6, level 7, and those buffs are spawning where she makes plays with the Reaver's Wall in the jungle in tandem, sometimes with the support. But Ian making it work on the Corki here. And they're going to secure the Ocean Drake off the back of that. A very nice early Drake to pick up for MVP.
Yeah, definitely for the laning phase, the Ocean is one of the best. For there are permanent stats for things like Infernals and Mountains to matter. Really nice proactive move there. Double control ward in the enemy jungle that went unbeknownst to Trick, and Trick does fall. His flash was down from the previous fight down bot lane. I wonder what the longest time a series has been perfect was. Because game 1, plus the first 10 minutes of game 2 has been perfect game territory for MVP.
This might be the longest, you know.
We're up there, you know? Because usually you don't have a 60-minute perfect game, so yeah. Perfect games are usually between 20 and 40 minutes in length.
This is one of those stats that you need a huge stats team to just acquire.
So here's the replay. Ages ago, Max walked up, put down a control ward. Around the time you estimate the first spawn, he went over. We at SpoTV are good at finding out who was in charge of things. Remember IgNar's famous ward that he put down as he died on Alistair?
Yeah.
So a bit of problem solving there. You know what, Valdez? There wasn't going to be action on the screen, so we found some cool stuff to show.
They don't really show the flashy stuff here, just the important stuff. It's good. Makes sense. We're all squires of League of Legends here.
Hey, you're a squire. I'm definitely a higher rank than squire.
I guess, yeah.
What's above a squire?
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get better, you know. What is above a squire? Is that
a knight?
Apprentice?
A knight, I guess, would be a couple above.
Knight is definitely above apprentice because you start as an apprentice to a knight. Oh, no, that's the squire. Where does the apprentice come in? Did I just make that up as part of the tree?
You're starting this, Valdez.
I'm
leaving it to you. I'm leaving it to you.
Honestly, I don't know where that ranks.
Well, I guess you're a private then, and I'll be a general.
The gap is definitely not that large, Papa.
Private Valdez and General Papa Smithy. That's right, my true name in the story is Papa Smithy. People always ask me what my father's name is in this lore, and I say Papa Smithy.
You know, Pop, I actually have veteran status on LCK over you. So,
how many confirmed kills do you have, Valdez?
Definitely not in terms of games played, but in terms of earliest time casting the LCK. Look at the zoom in, guys.
Yeah. Oh, he misses the knock-up.
He had the huge chance. He could have made it happen.
Beyond's looking to make it happen. Tempt might be in the shop. Just looking for a cancel. Corki only now getting back to lane.
Oh boy. Oh, we have a play! Maokai misses the ultimate, the knockup comes in, and ADD gets low, but he misses the kill.
That was pretty hype. You see the W trades are still registering. The Ornn nerfs are coming in patch 8.4 even to the W after all the previous ones.
ADD is actually having trouble here.
He's down 16 CS on Maokai. Who knew that could happen?
The weird thing about this is that you get this kind of win for Crazy, and then you're like, does it really matter? He's going to be like a null magic mantle ahead of ADD. And you're going to be like, well, I mean, that's something, but it doesn't really mean the world. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to their play in the team fights and the teleports and stuff like that.
When you do have the Maokai versus Ornn, the thing you always say is that the other lanes are more exciting for it because both of them reliable teleport users. Maokai more so, the targeted W. The deep teleports from the Maokai. It was a treat to watch from Smeb when he was playing the Maokai early in the season, but otherwise, I mean, Smeb only on the Maokai. Even Cuve, known for picking a Maokai or two, was not picking that one up.
How's Maokai on 8.4?
About the same.
I feel like nobody really talks about Maokai. He doesn't really get much.
If you want to get really like in depth, you could say that squishier mages, 1,000 health mages who don't get health from Liandry's are more in the meta. Tier champions who only have a shield situationally, so teleport flanking them is way better than it was before. So I would say Maokai indirectly got a bit stronger, but veering a bit off course in that sort of analysis.
Yeah.
What's your 8.4 kind of mad thinking, Jam? Because I know you're a big Talia guy. Is there anything you're kind of workshop? You look at the items thinking, I need to give this a go?
Honestly, when you one-trick something, it doesn't really help with your overall knowledge of the game. I'll definitely say that, like, just to be honest. When you play one champion, you're like, you understand all the matchups for that champion, but you don't really gain an overall perspective of like, oh, this is strong at 8.4. This is not strong.
Trick is still not check this ward, by the way, so he probably expects that it's there, but he focuses instead on where his side lanes are at. He sees that Max and Pilot are not reacting, and he makes the informed decision that clearing it faster was better than clearing the ward. Actually not a bad read, so good moment there for Trick. They're able to pick up the red buff on the second spawn, and no further deaths come the way of BBQ.
A question well, okay. We got some action here. The
very nice
dodge by ADD.
That was cool.
He's down a level, though. He's being chased, and he'll get away.
You don't have to
just a sliver of
hard
health,
play-by-play every fight between the two, but I appreciate the commitment.
I might as well. I feel like my talents are going to waste if I'm not doing something.
What was the question you had, Valdez?
Our range support's going to come back in 8.4. Stuff like brands seems pretty nice.
We're inching towards it. The nerf to the health of the support items, I think it's 150 off the completed full Relic Shield line is significant, but I think it's hard to say. I think right now the meta is so squarely on the side of hyper carries that want a melee support in lane to back them up. The true damaging support's got some better itemization. We're closer, but are we close enough for the LCK? I'm going to say no. Now, Max might play Brad. That's still possible.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably play it on 8.3, but we'll see. We got Notion Drake here, MVP looking to solidify their perfect game status, but a TP is going to come in. Are they going to commit to this? It looks like Beyond will, but he might go down for it in the end. They're going to have Tempt just disappearing off the map here, but goodbye perfect game. As getting a little bit too far deep.
We're still going.
Said. They're coming on in. They're going to get another one. Down goes Trick as well. So stacking up the kills off the back of that trade is MVP saying, we actually baited you into that fight.
Yeah, it was a massive feather storm on the end from Pilot getting the Blade Caller through 3 members. They take them down. They may have given up a single kill. They're going to turn on to the bot lane turret as well. Watch the replay here. It looks greedy for Beyond to stay on the objective. You assume he's going to go down, but Beyond doesn't die at the start. It's actually Max that ends up being the first death for MVP. The ultimate from the Maokai is followed up by a Blade Caller through to IgNar, only taking the first bit of the damage. DPS down. The Azir not in position to get any value after going down very early in the game. So even though it was Nashal's Tooth Azir and 2 items on the Ezreal, MVP ripped through BBQ.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate positioning there for Tempt. He could have done so much more in that fight had he waited just a couple of seconds before engaging himself. Maybe wait for someone like Crazy or Trick to get in there, someone more tanky.
Really important for the Maokai to actually pick up some kill involvements after having a bit of a struggle streak of a laning phase. Looking to turn onto the Rift Herald. His first thought was to be called bot lane, but with the Ornn bot lane, MVP looking to try to take the Rift Herald before it despawns.
Be a difficult task here, as there is a couple of wards inside the pit here. Going to be cleared out eventually, though. Wow, nice jungle proximity in this game. Beyond saying, well, I just don't care about my lanes.
You know, it is Corki. They don't have the pressure to kill top, and bot lane was doing fine. So Tempt looks for a streamer shuffle, doesn't get one.
Okay, well, no Valkyrie here for Ian, and they're just going to impale him and see you later. I mean, he just could not get out of that one. No availability. Should have flashed earlier, I suppose, but did not have the opportunity.
Nice return gank timing, though, from BBQ. They use the information they have that Valkyrie is on cooldown. They profit and get the kill. No flash used, as you mentioned, will lead to the Rift Herald. It will actually be picked up before it despawns. MVP in the area. Probably not going to be a serious contest. Sejuani in the mid lane.
Yeah, we'll just have to give this one up. Max helping a little bit towards the end. But this could definitely get BBQ on track to become a player in this game. We'll see if they use it right away mid. Looks like the answer is no.
They just want to increase the pace of the game. We know how strong Ian and Pilot will be at 3 items. We're about halfway there for both of them. So still a phase in the game where Azir can outstrip any power that MVP can put out. Also, the Ezreal at 2 items has the control build going. So lots of good options for BBQ if they can start forcing MVP to react. But MVP is still on the front foot. They're the ones trying to dictate the game, even though the blue buff can't be claimed by Beyond.
Yeah, at least they do deny it from Tempt here, something we always have to talk about. They're thinking about a collapse here in mid. It is 3-on-2, and you'll notice that the bottom lane is trying to come in.
Just trying to zone away.
Yeah, ultimate blown here, and they will be able to take out this turret, at least get it very low. And in comes Beyond looking for Trick. He actually lands it. There's the CC follow-up from Max. That's going to be a very clean kill from the side of MVP, plus the mid turret.
And to me, the most impressive thing is the setup is really smart. They use the Maokai ultimate and say this should get us an objective. Trick stays too far up with his flash down. The call is Skarner's flash is down, we can burst him. That part is true, and while a Sun Turret will delay things in the game, and the delay is going to be recommended given that Tempt just had a Gathering Storm proc above his head, so we'll be looking in for the longer game. You mentioned that BBQ were the ones who were trying to increase the tempo. Enter MVP. Nice accuracy from Beyond. Much more clean on the Glacial Prison than he was on the Let's Bounce. Gets them the mid lane turret, and MVP can back. A bit more gold in their purse, a bit closer to their 3 items on their carries, and a bit closer to a big 2-0 victory.
Yeah, even the QSS finished up here on Ian, so he's going to be looking to make sure that BBQ can't get any more impale kills on him for free. And use that to stay in this game.
Does also have Pilot having 4 kill participations, 1, 0, and 3. I think his item timing's on time, so he doesn't feel as pressured to go heavy on the damage early and sacrifice that safety. Always like to see strategic use of ultimates. A big fan of the Weaver's Wall to keep people away from turrets. I love the Maokai ultimate for the same sort of usage. Ended up getting the bonus, the extra kill, which makes it even more sweet for the side of MVP. And when the Baron spawns, there also, when the Baron is looked at 21 minutes into the game, they have the Warmogs on the Sejuani, so they also have a lot of plays around the Baron, where with the Maokai they can turn, and if those items are there for Ian and Pilot, they can delete the members of BBQ.
Beyond waiting in the wings here, seeing if Trick perhaps didn't notice the QSS and would try for a gank, but that is not the case. Just gonna come in here, help clean out some vision. Lots of focus up in the top lane. Great engage there from Max. He's gonna knock up 2 of them after the quickness. Now Trick coming in here really fast with the Righteous Glory, but nice disengage after the fact from MVP.
And not close enough to look for a flash for flash. You might have considered that if you were the Skarner. Around Max, you can see very early purchase on the Zeke's Convergence here. A very popular item for Xayah in particular because her Q with the line damage does proc with the 50% burn extra bonus damage. Pilot's already going, so the max damage Xayah build is certainly underway. Speaking of being underway, on the bot side, they're trying to take the Drake in between all of this.
They kind of laugh at the Rift Herald and say, well, that wasn't the best positioning. We can hold this down with 3, but we are going to have Beyond knocked up. They just don't have too much damage on the back foot, though. He doesn't even go down here. Crazy, trying to make things interesting. Does get a triple knock-up, but looking to turn this around now is MVP. Ghost getting low on the back foot. Crazy, getting pretty crazy, driving.
Watch Tempt
there. Here comes Tempt. Nice blade caller there to lock down 2, though, means that BBQ doesn't want to commit to it after all, even with the full health Tempt. We were thinking maybe he could turn it around, but not quite the case.
He didn't want to go for the full turret dive like you're mentioning, Valdez, as MVP are pushing in the mid lane and have claimed a Drake in the face of this pressure. Heroic defense. Usually a Skarner ultimate on one member is enough, and certainly late enough in the game when the items are there, they can kill the Sejuani. But Warmogs and Cinderhulk this early, after getting the successful invade on the enemy red and picking up Trick much earlier in the game, means the Sejuani doesn't die. They can't focus down, even though Featherstorm and other tools were down for the side of MVP. They fought this at a disadvantage in numbers and ultimates and still survived.
It's a good follow-up there by Crazy. You notice that Max gets low, but Pilot doing his work beyond just letting that Warmog stick for him, and then after having all that time and the extra damage from the Xayah, they just say, well, you got to back out of it after all this.
They also out-damaged in the 4v4, which started as a 3v4, of course, and by the time Azir came there, the rest of his team was too low to actually vindicate any sort of all-in. Double QSS and 2 items on both carries. Ian's gone for the RNG favorite, the Infinity Edge second for just the most burst damage early if you get a Trinity Force Infinity Edge crit. Things get tricky here for the side of BBQ. If Pilot is left unaccounted, he will rip through the enemy team as Max will, on command, use the quickness and also proc the 50% bonus damage on the Zeke's Convergence. Corki doing great damage on the sidelines as well. They have to pick their fights and engages. Good news for them is Corki is bot side, tussling with Crazy, but he actually has teleport advantage. So MVP have access to more members as his Trick.
Okay, from the brush, he gets on top of Max there, but again, just Ghost not in position to do the damage. They're looking to turn this around now onto IgNar. The answer is no after all of this. Here comes Ian, though, with the TP as well as ADD, but BBQ are getting the hell out of there. Tempt looking to perhaps poke a little bit onto Beyond, but after all, just a nice disengage from BBQ.
But it's a nice map setup from MVP. It's not usually their strength in playing around side lanes and going for multi-pronged attacks where they have teleport advantage and using the Maokai ultimate to zone, but clearly they've been practicing some new tricks during the break. Good to see from them. BBQ looking for an engage when they had no ability to have as many members topside was risky. They don't have the burst damage to take down even a Rakan with flash down. That means they back away, they lose a lot of turret HP, but otherwise it ends up being pretty even between MVP and BBQ.
They brought Crazy up here without his TP, who walked all the way from bottom lane, which is slow pushing. Should get a nice bit of damage done to that turret if no one answers it, but not able to effectively engage, not able to stop anyone from backing, means that looks like this likely will reset. Although we do have a TP up on the top side. Looks like that's IgNar here with Ghost.
Yep, Unsealed Spellbook on both supports again. Been very common today, actually, after falling out of favor in some other games. No other interesting rune choice to talk about, so we skipped over them in the early game. Predator now super standard in Korea. MVP still have one more breakpoint hit. They still really want to hit 3 items on both the Corki and the Xayah. Well, Ghost misses his ult. Was looking to both harass and slow down. Oh, he does actually slow down on the second half.
Nice.
Second part's the charm.
Honestly, Pilot just gave him a second chance. He felt bad.
One way to look at things. Infinity Edge started for Pilot, so we're on a timer now. I feel like we're about, what, 8 minutes away from items being complete, maybe even earlier, depending on how much gold that Pilot is sitting on. And then when it comes to front to back, you know, you look at the side of BBQ and you don't necessarily turn up your nose. Azir, of course, when you're moving towards him does insane damage with the Sand Soldiers, as we found out in all of our 70 to 90-minute games. But the problem is, I feel like MVP have the Maokai ult to zone out the backline, and also the damage to rip through Ornn and specifically Skarner in the front line. So they have an easier time fighting front to back. The Xayah and the Corki are very, very safe at every point of the game. So to me, they win out pretty hard in front to back team fight, even with the Azir. And that means that BBQ are on a bit of a timer to find a meaningful lead in the game.
Trick has made it his life's work to try to make this top lane gank work.
Well, if he stays in the brush long enough, apparently it says Skarner, so he's going for the hidden passive there.
Well, Ian's there, and they see him, so they decide just to back off. We were taking a look down at bottom lane, and it is confirmed nothing has changed between the Maokai and Ornn matchup. No one takes any damage. This time, Tempt will make his way up into the top side that they've actually control warded. Okay, here we go. They're going to get on top of Beyond here. It looks like the huge knock-up and into the...
He's still alive!
Oh, how does he make it out there? Tempt's not able to do enough damage. Crazy trying to get him on the backside, but it's not enough. And now the disengage here from ADD. Ian in a nice spot here to kite them all out. He's going to have the rest of his team coming in. Even Beyond making his way back with the Warmogs. They'll be able to pick up at least Ornn on the back of the failed kill again onto Beyond.
These picks onto Sejuani are not happening. The damage numbers are not high enough, even though Ghost has played the Ruined King. And with Crazy dead, they're straight on the Baron. Trick's recall, and they know they've given it up.
That they have MVP. It took a while for the one kill and the Baron to come in, but this will be the turning point in the game where MVP can now finally push this top tier 1, potentially get even more.
So once again, they look for the pit. This time, Corki does not have teleport. This time, Maokai is not there. They think they can kill him during the duration, but Sejuani lives on 100 health. No more than that. Extra shield on the end to stop anything from happening. Then Pilot's zoned away, and you think, okay, what's going to happen here? The first rocket, a big one, explodes the health bars. Crazy's not had any fun with the Searing charges this game into a wall multiple times. They can fight front to back. Sejuani's getting the Warmogs healing. Able to start the Baron very easily. They're chunking out of Sejuani with Warmogs. Never worth it because of that Warmogs. All things considered, every ultimate they've had this series has traded them down. And now MVP can play side lanes with 3 items on the Corki and the Xayah.
Yeah, and a second Mountain Drake to boot, so they'll be chunking down the turrets like nobody's business, especially with the champion that Corki is.
Which champion is that?
Corki.
Ah,
yeah.
The
Corki.
daring bombardier.
Yeah, he's got a package, they say.
But how will he use it, Valdez?
I don't know. That's the real question.
Oh, skirting around topics.
Definitely, though, can just poke, like get a couple of hits onto a turret and then Valkyrie away, and then all of a sudden your turret has lost half its health. It's very annoying to deal with. Quite fun when you play Corki and your team doesn't feed in the first 15 minutes of solo queue, and you can actually farm up to some items.
The Froggen special from his time over here in Korea, Corki and Talia. A man for all occasions, as ADD brought this minion wave in slowly, and Pilot walks over. He has 3 items, so goodbye, turret. Nice knowing you.
Yeah, potentially not only that. Ian showing a lot of respect down here, even before Crazy made his way into the lane.
Never can forget that as the game goes on and on, Tempt, kind of without really showing it, does do a hell of a lot of damage. So need to respect the Azir wherever possible at the 3-item point. That needs to be respected. 3 items everywhere, so a lot to talk about in that way.
Yeah.
Even with Baron buff minions, pushing them pretty well for an AP mage.
Also got both Leandries and Void Staff to deal with these chunky tanks in the front line. The Maokai and the Sejuani. Not fun to deal with without those items.
Back away. Trying to get through all the easy objectives with his first Baron buff, it feels like, for MVP. Where's
they're gonna ult Tempt right in the front there. Fortunately, they have no follow-up, and ADD's having a bit of a vacation inside of the base.
Skarner ulted him into the base, but he's so tanky that it didn't matter. I don't know if he lost more than 200 health there.
See ya. Goodbye.
Don't know about that one as a ult target. And they will lose the bot lane turret in this same passage of play.
Yeah, definitely a questionable impale, that one was.
So this is still the same Baron. We still have this last kind of half of a minion wave. The next minion wave will not have the Baron, so difficult for MVP to break the base. But we mentioned that the first Baron being as early as it was, taking all the easy objectives, which represent the inner and outer turrets, is kind of the minimum you're looking for.
That's what I was talking about. Even without the minions, Ian can just walk up to the turret and auto it, and it's lost an eighth of its health.
They're trying to engage on ADD, who's all alone here. Ian's going to back away. There should be a kill back to the side of BBQ.
Yeah, it might take a little bit of time, but he is going to die eventually here. He's even blowing his ult, just to delay as much as possible, I suppose. Even with no objectives on the map, only going to be one kill going over to BBQ.
The delay does allow them to get back on the map, start contesting for vision. Nothing spawns, so of course, vision clearing right now isn't so big. And AD didn't have flash, even though they looked to be posturing towards the back of the Krug pit. So we take a deep breath, we reload. The ult there does actually profit BBQ. Rick struggles. He does have 2 out of the 3 kills, so he's got that going for him. Not really sure how he claimed the kills. He is full tank Skarner.
Okay, well, he's going to stun up Max here, and there's the impale, but, well, he's got QSS, so.
QSS on all members except Sejuani and Maokai makes the target selection very tricky for BBQ. When you hit the ultra late game, you can instant kill a tank, but because it's Ezreal, you wonder if that will ever happen in this game, especially with Maokai and Sejuani being among the tankiest of tanks.
Yeah, I mean, you notice that Ghost has itemized towards killing tanks as well. But again, still Ezreal, as you mentioned. It's going to be a rough time. Ghost definitely also not the same tier as guys like Deft or Bang on the Ezreal. So
down 60 CS against the Xayah Rakan, which doesn't help him either, but not really his fault because, of course, the game has been largely lost around bot lane. It's been pretty non-interactive between Pilot and Max and Ghost and IgNar. Game plan for MVP is to wait for the second Baron to spawn, and that's really the way they see they can actually win the game because the ultra delay of Azir is still on the Rift.
Okay, they're going to ult him in here, and apparently he doesn't have his QSS. His Max, it was down from the last time. Beyond also getting burst here. He finally goes down. That's a double kill. Here comes Ian with the package, looking to help him out. Trick does get low, but they cannot get any more kills. At least Ian able to disengage for his team.
First good moment for BBQ. They return onto the Skarner ultimate onto Max, and like you say, the QSS cooldown was not available. At this point in the game, enough CDR has been stacked that the Skarner impale is lower cooldown than the QSS. There's no Baron to start, but there's 2 objectives to set up around. That's the first good news story, honestly, in 2 games for the side of BBQ.
I thought we were going to have another troll fight where somehow Beyond gets away, but they barely get him towards the end.
The slow into the flash impale. Max dies in basically the blink of an eye. And from there was a real worry that they were so staggered in entering the fight that if Beyond died and ADD died, they were done. But Corki comes in, he's able to actually push back with the package and has insane damage, as we know, so needs to be respected. Not quite the damage on the side of BBQ to delete the Maokai on the back end. No Baron to fight for, but if there was, they certainly would have turned onto it. In the interim, for the long respawns for Beyond and Max, you get 1 if you're MVP. That was the first real critical mistake, walking up when they couldn't afford to.
Well, they're looking to make another play here. Trick, he is quick, for sure. We'll see who he'll get out here. Will he just go for one of the tanks? Will he attempt to get onto Max once again? But that Baron getting pretty low. It looks like MVP, they want to turn this around. There's the engage for Max. He gets the double knockup. Not too much damage, though, going through the Unbreakable. Finally, towards the end, they break through it. Pilot just going to Featherstorm to stay alive. Again, it's only the support going down here. But a good engage from MVP.
Now, they can heal up quickly with the Warmogs, but can they actually start the Baron? It is only IgNar that went down. They do so much damage to it, though. The 5v4, even with the Azir, they just can't get in the area. 2 Mountain Drakes helping them as well, so pretty quick Baron timing, all things considered. They back away. You're right, though. The Unbreakable is doing insane work against a buffed up 4-item Xayah. They were not melting, which is kind of not what you expect when there's 50% bonus damage coming through from Max. The Elder Dragon, apparently it existed. You don't even get a eulogy when you die that quick. Sorry, Dragon.
Yeah. Maybe next time. But now we got double buff stacked, and we still have them miles ahead. So let's take another look at this engagement.
Because this looks like it's going to be a firing squad from Pilot and Ian. Watch Pilot come in, unbreakable the entire time, reducing damage comically. The Locket as well. Braum does die before he can use his ultimate, but was always going to go down in the AoE. But see, one of the reasons that Braum is prized, that damage reduction as the game goes on.
I feel like, though, even at this point, that Unbreakable is not going to be looking as good because you're going up against Elder. You're going up against so much.
Elder, Baron, the ability to dive. Maokai ultimate will start the story when a minion wave is there. In fact, well, whatever. Ian's going to take it up himself.
Because why not? I mean, you can when you're at this point. It's 38 minutes into the game. We're getting near full items here, if not already there.
Corki does unspeakable amounts of damage. I don't even have the adjectives to describe. 4 Elder Drake buff, where even your Gatling gun is burning on every single tick of it. Ian is tremendously strong, and that's excluding Pilot, who was probably feeling a bit unhappy that I'm not complimenting him at the same time. Ian walks up. The turret dies instantly.
Again, he's just low-key doing damage from the back, and he's had a good game. Shout out to Pilot. We'll give him his moment to shine. But that's about it. We got MVP coming on in as 5. There's that zoning you were talking about. They really do not care as another turret's going to go down.
Corki?
Big knock-up, though, as Corki nearly goes down. That was the pick they needed. They try to get onto Beyond here, and they burst him down. There's that Azir for you with Ghost in the back line. But they're still going to push. They're not even scared at this point. MVP, there's the 4-man quickness. There's just too much damage. Ian and Pilot still surviving off the back of it. That's going to be the 2-0. Props to MVP. Although, we are going to have Tempt come into the back line and actually knock them up. Will they actually end this game? Looks like the answer will eventually be yes. They want to improve their dismal KDAs. So I understand. It makes sense, MVP. Try to do it. Not going to work out. 2-0 in the end. MVP 4-0 in the first season here of LCK 2018 against BBQ.
And how do you make sense of a 3-match streak where BBQ lost to the 9th place team, beat the 1st place team, and then lost to MVP again? Just insanity. BBQ Oliver's looking so much better with Trick, but now back to the drawing board as we finally go into our Week 5 break. Still 8 matches left for the rest of the season. Still opportunities for MVP and BBQ to heavily improve their current standings. Ended up being a very amusing game too after game 1 was kind of decided very early in the piece. Congratulations, MVP. I don't know what it is about the matchup against BBQ. These old enemies from Challenger, they got promoted at the same time. MVP were the ones to steal away the victory from ESC Ever many years ago. And it seems like when they finally meet the head-to-head, it's always MVP with a nose in front.
Doesn't make sense when you look at the lineups and the stats and everything, but we've seen this happen before in many leagues across the boards, not just esports, but somehow, some way, there's one team that's always got your number. And eventually they turn into rivals. I don't know if we really have a rivalry between MVP and BBQ just yet, but definitely not good feels for BBQ so far.
I mean, they're both perennial strugglers, so they face each other a lot at the bottom. So there's always going to be those smaller storylines and that Challenger history. At the start, when Beyond dies, you might be baited into thinking, of course it's time for the full reset. But then you remember, wait, it's Elder, Baron, and Xayah and Corki still alive. Corki comes in. Walks in. That's an auto attack, by the way. The rocket missed. It did 1,700 damage to the Ezreal, so of course he died. And the game did eventually end. MVP up 2-0. And finally getting themselves further and further away from the foot of the table and their competition like Hongdu Monster.
Nicely done, MVP. Especially for the fans, you gotta feel they've had a rough season, especially the start here in the first round robin. But second round robin, they lose to Rocks, but they're feeling better now after taking a victory up against BBQ once again.
But they'll unfortunately be reminded that they can't face BBQ again this season. That was their first match of the second round robin, and their matches against BBQ are gone. Very one-sided series. Again, counter logic right here. CLG repping in the Korea. as MVP just once again took it away. Unfortunately, Trick's Skarner 2 games in a row did precisely nothing for his team. Actually accelerated their demise with some of the picks on the top side where they just could not kill the Sejuani. It was already comically tanky in the early game. Corki and Xayah putting out the brunt of the damage. Good drafts, good macro. Loved how they attacked the structure game, taking the turrets. Clean stuff from MVP. I only have compliments for them compared to the usual ironic comments about their Baron taking and their other flaws.
Yeah, they can go home with this one and sleep easy because maybe this is the start, you know, the building block of something better, something new for this lineup that has struggled so much. Got a feel for them. Looking good today. Honestly, I was expecting it the other way around. As I said in the beginning, I thought BBQ would 2-0. You know, they just looked too good against Kingzone, and I don't know, Kingzone, they just look like a different team when Rascal comes in, even though they did lose the first game with Khan up against BBQ.
Just keep it on this match for a moment. Consider that BBQ, in 2 games, picked up a single turret.
How does that even happen?
No Elder, no Baron, no Drake. Just 1 turret in 2 games. MVP will go to Max, playmaking on the Xayah. The Xayah Rakan, that was in full force today. Both games looking majestic. Katie Rolster, then MVP. Definitely well deserved for Max.
He had multiple engages just by himself to get things started, and the rest of his team essentially followed behind him. It's one of the things that really worked for MVP in the past, and they call him the McMahon up in the top side. That's kind of an interesting nickname for Max. But hey, I mean, he deserves it today. He's got 300 MVP points. I feel like whenever MVP win, it is off of the back of a good Max performance.
And look, Max is this player who has always been respected. You know, when it comes to MVP players, people would do a tier list and put Max at the top. And a lot of that's creativity, but on the conventional, still good.
Well, I can't wait to see what SpoTV has in store for the interview this time around. Let's see what happens. I'll hand it over to Ji-sun.
기대하셔도 좋을 것 같은데요. 오늘 승리를 이끈 두 선수죠. 비욘드 선수 그리고 맥스 선수를 직접 만나보시죠.
I would like to hand my glasses over to Songcaster.
그렇습니다. Esports Spring 오늘 경기 완벽하게 퍼펙트 경기를 마감했던
So here we have MVPs from MVP team who made perfect game today.
저희가 이 안경을 이번 시즌 초반부터 준비를 했었어요.
Well, we were really preparing to wear these glasses to be part of the MVP squad, but finally you guys came to the interview zone. I'm really happy.
그리고 상대편이 진짜 요즘에 기세가 올라간다고 느꼈던
Well, you
BBQ였는데
had
오늘 경기 그
perfect game today. So how do you feel today?
일단은 그 경기 준비할 때 저희 코치님이 이제 너네 충분히 잘하니까.
Well, during the preparation, our coaching staff told me that you guys are good enough to, and told me to not to get frustrated before the game. So I think it really worked out on today's game.
팬들이 난리가 났었거든요. 그리고 오늘 신도가 많이 들었어요.
And Max, your super plays were awesome. How was today's game? Well, I value Xayah and Rakan combinations really good, so I think it worked out as we planned.
상당히 컸거든요. 그러니까 이 경기는 그래도 어느 정도 가능성을 만드는 듯한 BBQ 장면들도 있었는데 1경기는
Well, the first game, you know, it was a perfect game.
본인들도 플레이를 하면서 막 그런 느낌을 좀 받았어요.
So, did you guys know that you're dominating the whole game?
딱두명다 잡은 순간부터 이 게임.
Yeah, when we made the counter attack on the top lane, I knew we were gonna win, so I just tried to not to make the least mistakes.
약간 아찔한 순간도 좀 있었던
The
것
second
같은데.
game, it was kind of close, you know. So I would like to say that is our weakness, so we're gonna just try to get rid of that kind of mistakes.
너무나 좋은 활약들을 많이 펼쳤는데요. 먼저 첫 번째 세트 지우 장면
And let's check out the highlights from the first game.
자, 먼저 비욘드가 만들었던 수많은 주요 같은 플레이가 하나 한번
With
만나볼까요?
Beyond, you made a lot of kills with your Zap.
유력이 진짜 좋았었는데요. 이건 어떤 사인들이었던 거예요 이때 경기 때?
Who made the shot calls here?
콜이 이제 스카너가 플래시 없으니까 그냥 보이자마자 바로 뛸 때.
I told them I knew that Skarner didn't have flash, so I just jumped right in. And yeah, trying to get kills as soon as possible.
그러니까 실질적으로 제가 느꼈을 때도 뭐 한 번 정도만 만 제외하고는 거의 이런 식으로 들어갈 때마다 완전 킬이 다 나오고.
Yeah, I think you've never like missed a kill every time you start to
오늘
initiate.
같은 경우처럼만 만들어지면 상위권도 정말 충분히 올라갈 수 있을 것 같은데 오늘 콜은 주로 또 누가 좀
Then who made the most shot calls today? Well, the game one, I did because I had sack and I want to have lead in the games. And then in the game two, I think Rakan made the most shot calls.
라칸이 들어왔었을 때 그 장면들도 아주 화려한 장면들이 많았었잖아요.
Then let's
좋은
check
장면
out some of
기억하세요,
the highlights with your plays on Rakan. Do you remember any special?
기억 안 나던 저희가 보여드리죠.
Well, if you don't remember, we prepared the clips for you.
그 중에 몇 개를 한번 잡아왔습니다.
아지르가 저렇게 있으면 죽어야 되는 입장이라서 실수가 좀
Well, I think Azir was in a bad position, so yeah, I knew it and I just opened the team fight.
이 장면은 어땠어요?
이건 사실 제가 좀 방패가 빠지지 않으면 들어가서
Well, it was my mistake because I went in without the Braum's defense, but I think our damage dealer also did a great job, so we could win the team fight.
좀 좋았기 때문에 이 장면이 나오지 않았나라는 좀 생각을 좀 했었는데 그만큼 멋진 장면들을 많이 불렀던 것 같은데 특히나 오늘 경기는 사실 양 팀이 만날 때마다 좀 신경전을 많이 펼치는 걸로 알고 있어요.
Well, and MVP and BBQ, you guys are kind of a rival since the challengers and LCK promotions.
그런 얘기들이 좀 오고 갔었나요? 어땠어요?
How did you prepare for coming into today's series?
끝나고 화장실에서 이제 고스트
Did you guys have any talk with BBQ players?
저보고 럭스를 하라고 하더라고요.
Well, I actually ran into Goat from BBQ and he told me to play Lux support, so I said that's not gonna happen.
비욘드 선수는 어땠었어요? 그러니까 BBQ만 만나면 그래도 우리가 확실히 좀 이기고 싶다는 생각 좀 가져요?
What about you, Beyond? Well, since the challengers, I mean, we've been together for a long time and we've been a rival for a long time. So yeah, I didn't want to lose out today.
경기를 좀 잘 보였던 것 같습니다. 많은 팬 여러분들께서 오늘 궁금한 점이 있으실 것 같아요. TV를 지켜보시는 분들 가운데 궁금증이 이게 많이 올라왔더라고요. MVP에 대한 환호성이
And a lot of fans want to know what are your tricks for having so many fans out here.
아마도 외모가 아닐까 싶어요.
I think it's because we look handsome.
그래 저희를 이제 외모만이 아닌 실력으로 평가해 주시면
But I hope they can concentrate more on our plays rather than our appearance.
저는 코라고 생각합니다.
And my charming point is my nose.
일단 어디요? 인중? 인중.
Well, and the fans are agreeing on it. And what about you, Beyond? What's your charming point?
있는 이유가 뭐라고 생각하세요? 외모?
Appearance? I agree to that, but and also, I mean, we are all just funny. Well, I mean, we're just like sometimes we just play silly, but our fans are just so happy to see us so naturally having fun times with each other. So I think that's our charming point. So the breaking news says that Max wants more attention on his play, not his appearance.
평창에서 그 화려한 내용들 때문에 안경이 이제 막 부흥이 다시 한번 올라오고 있는 그런 내용들도 좀 있었는데 어떻습니까?
And MVP, you guys are so well known with your glasses.
잘 가져갈 수 있을까요? 어떨까요?
Does them give you any buff? Well, I think we had a great start for the second round robin, so yeah, we're just gonna keep on our hard work.
함께하는 많은 팬들에게 많은 질문들이 들어왔는데요. 그 중에서 저희가 애초에 그 팬 여러분들을 위한 질문을 먼저 한번 받았습니다.
And we have a question from the fans.
팬 여러분들이 직접 해주신 질문 한번 만나볼까요? 이 질문 올라왔더라고요.
Yeah, the question is that we've heard that you guys have a mascot in your gaming house. She's a pig, and she likes the coaches and Maha the most. And except for those people, who does she like from your team?
부르면 오는 그 사람이 이제 감독님을 제일 잘 따르고요.
Well, she likes the head coach the most.
중에서는 그래도 이제
And from the players,
이안 선수가 제일 잘
maybe except Maha, I think she likes Maha, Ian a lot.
이유가 왜? 뭐라고?
And she doesn't really like me because I don't really know, but she just avoids me.
많은 팬들의 마음속에 있지만 꼬부기하고는 좀 더 써야 된다라는 얘기인데 이안 선수에게 나중에 그거 좀 비결 좀 배우시면 좀 좋을 것 같아요.
Maybe you should learn how to be closer to the pigs from Ian, right?
같이 오세요. 일로 오세요. 뭘 어차피
And here we have all the other MVP members.
아, 저도 안경 끼고 있으니까 팀원이 된 느낌이네요.
And wearing the glasses, I feel like to be a part of the MVP squad.
아니, 어디 가는지 모르겠네요.
아, 네. 제가 그냥 대신 안경 끼고.
Well, Maha is missing, so
굉장히 멋진 장면을
let's
펼쳤는데
just
한마디
think that I'm Maha here with you. And is there anything you want to say to your fans?
아, 돼지가 가장 많이 따르는 남자 이한부터.
네. 다 팬분들이 있기에 이긴 거 아닙니까?
So we brought Pilot. We're just still looking for Maha, but I mean, I really want to thank our fans for supporting us.
오늘 일단 깔끔하게 이겨서 이 상
I'm really happy that we got a very clean win today.
그나마 만족하는 경기였고
So I'm really satisfied.
이제 이 상태에서 좀 더 강해지도록
So
하겠습니다.
we're gonna keep on our hard works.
오늘 경기력이 나쁘지 않게 나와서 괜찮은 것 같고요.
I am quite satisfied with today's performance, so we're gonna be ready for our upcoming matches. Thank you.
저는 이번에 출전하지 못했지만 팀원들 잘해줘서 너무
I would like to
고맙고
thank for all my
저도 다음에는 더
teammates for
열심히
doing
하는
so
모습
well
보여드리겠습니다.
today, and I will make sure to show great performance from next matches.
그렇습니다. 축하하는 자리에 사람 많으면 더 좋은 거 아니겠습니까? MVP 오늘
So we brought all the players to celebrate their win in the Sport TV, and this will be the end of the interview with MVP players. Thank you.
That was a tactical mute by our producer. Thank you very much to Unji, our producer, for muting away some of the
I don't know if that muted
cheers.
for everybody, though.
Oh, I hope
muted
so.
for us, but
Oh,
that's
boy.
good. Yeah, so that's pretty cool to see the whole lineup there. Line up all together after another big win over BBQ, another 2-0. So
An impressive one. Again,
Yeah.
a single turret, no dragons, no Rift Herald, no chance for the side of BBQ. How do you make sense of the fact that they beat Kingzone Dragon X?
I don't know.
The highest and the lows, or the highs and the lows of the teams here in Korea are Korean-esque, you know? They're known for the best of the best. Some of the worst has also happened in this league. But yeah, BBQ a lot to work on. I wonder if they will maintain Trick in the lineup because things did fall apart and his Skarner wasn't doing it for the team either. Ended up being very straightforward for the side of MVP. But what does this mean for MVP or BBQ's next series? You know, until we see game one of that series, it's hard to say.
I'd love to see who they're going up against next. Maybe we'll get a look at the schedule.
Yeah, schedule graphic coming later.
Yeah, I want to see exactly so we can kind of think about it, you know?
We have to also think about the fact that we're projecting one more week on patch 8.3 before we move to the new items. So unfortunately, guys, you're going to have to grin and bear as the lost chapters into Morellonomicons come every game. If you were a BBQ fan, you turn this one off. You gorge yourself on chicken and you cried yourself to sleep tonight because, oh, man.
Yeah.
40, or I guess 35 and 35, 70, so what? 75 odd minutes of pain coming through for BBQ fans. MVP is too good.
Literally just too good. Very, very fast win. Faster than the win earlier from KT Rolster over the generic Green Wings. So perhaps MVP is the better team.
Against BBQ, the answer is certainly.
What
in
other
the history,
asinine conclusions can we draw?
we're not about the asinine. We're only about the standings. As here's the standings. Hold on to your butts. MVP is ninth.
They're still making their way up the ladder, guys. Even with a couple of wins in recent history up against BBQ.
Remember, guys, compared to best of one, because we're in best of three, head-to-head is only after game score. So even though MVP are 4-0 against BBQ, they lost to everyone else by a lot. So unfortunately, they are below BBQ.
The only team that they had a 2-1 or a 3-game series against was SKT. Every other one was 0-2 or 2-0. So.
But it's getting better. You know, that's what the last 5 series or so, where they have lost some of them, but in general have looked more competitive during the matches. We're excited to see the future schedule, but we also need to take into account that week 5 is now over. 9 weeks of the regular season, 4 to go. A month of action. March is going to be just all the League of Legends you can eat. No more breaks to be had. This was the week. Started off in a weird spot where FLICKR and Kingzone both went down, and you thought, okay, but they were supposed to be the best. The worst is getting better. The best has been struggling a little bit, but next week we start off with a banger in just 2 days' time.
Oh,
a
baby.
FLICKR Freaks versus KSV. Both of them struggling recently. KSV picked up a victory, but FLICKR Freaks do not want to, under any circumstances, go 0-3 after being 10-0 in game score.
For sure. I mean, they are on the edge here, right above SKT, actually, sitting at 6-4 from what we saw from the standings. So they can't really afford other losses. We also got KT versus Rox, which is going to be closer than you might imagine. Rox putting up a fight up against everyone else. BBQ plays against IgNar, and MVP goes up against Kingzone, so a couple of interesting matches up
We won't
next.
go through all of them. The big match of the week is going to be on Thursday, a FLICKR Freaks versus SKT. SK Telecom's first test, you would say, apart from KSV, where honestly, if they can beat a FLICKR, who might be walking towards somehow a 0-4 scoreline, then really their fans will say SKT is back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool story to have. You know, you go through a slump and then you bring in the rookies and all of a sudden things look better.
It sounds like a minor league story in a movie, right?
Yeah.
You know, the minor leaguers become major leaguers, but it's real life here. It's video games, competitive as it comes, and SKT on the rampage looking to close the gap on some top teams that are struggling series on series.
Yeah, it's LCK has been pretty fun so far, and I can't wait to see what else is coming in store. But guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you once again for watching. We love you. See you later.
LCK 스프링 스플릿 오늘 경기도 만족스러우셨나요? 계속되는 2라운드 경기 선수를 향한 많은 응원과 관심 부탁드리겠습니다. 그럼 저는 화요일 오후 4시 50분에 다시 인사드리겠습니다. 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.